Hello everyone, welcome to a new part of the install tutorial. So what we're gonna do in this video is gonna be about setting up the address module in the server. Right now in the server, what we have the customer module only. So, but I mean with what we've done in the last week, now it's time to jump and be able to create an address and put this inside the database. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the backend stuff, and after that we're gonna jump back in the mobile to test it. So for this tutorial, this video, you're gonna need a Postman, and also I use a MongoDB Compass just to see my my data finally in the database. And yeah, so if you don't have both tools, I will really encourage you to get them. They are free, so Postman and MongoDB Compass. So now we're gonna start the way we start in the other part with the customer. So we're gonna create the address module, and we're gonna start with the model.js. So here it's the place where you create finally your schema. So here I'm going to import Mongoose and schema from Mongoose. After that, I'm going to create my schema, address schema equal a new schema. And a schema is a function we take an object. Here, what we're gonna do in this schema is we're gonna put whatever we think we're gonna need. So first thing, we're gonna need a street. So it's gonna be almost what we've done in the front end when we be able to create an address with the street, apartment, postal code, city, instruction, and everything else. So here for the street, there's gonna be a type of string, and also I want this to be required. So if it's impossible to don't have this value in the DB. After that, we're gonna have the APT number, which is gonna be the number of the apartment and everything. For me, I'm gonna save it as a string, but it's not required. So you see the difference? Here, a street, it's an object. We take a type, and it take a require boolean. By default, the require boolean is false. So here, because the apartment gonna be a string, but it's not required, you can just keep it this way, and that's gonna tell Mongoose then. It's not required, but it's going to be a string. After that, we're going to have the postal code. So postal code is going to be a type of string. I open bracket here because I want to pass required to be true. And also, I want to make sure that the max length for us in the Canada, it's 6. Here, you don't need to put a max length. It's just for me, I'm going to put 1. So here in Canada, postal code is going to be always 6 characters. After that, I'm going to have a city. Again, city is going to be a type of string, and it's gonna be required to be true also. After that, we're gonna have province. So province here in Canada, it's like the state in United States, but this is the name I'm gonna put for my app. Remember, this tutorial is not about like building an app and you can put this in the app store, and you see what I mean? Like it's a tutorial, so it's for everyone to learn basic stuff to be able to create your own e-commerce. After that, we're gonna have instruction. Extension. It's gonna be a string. After that, I want to do a one-to-many relationship. So what I mean is a user gonna have many address, but that address gonna have only one parent, and the parent is gonna be called user. So yeah, so I think it's gonna make more sense because a user can have like, I don't know, like 5 address, and one of this is going to be the primary one, and all this address is going to always be below from one user, so it's going to be impossible to have the same address. You see what I mean? But for now, the only way we're going to keep it is just with this way. So we're going to use a schema that types object ID. So here finally the only thing we want to say is the object ID of the user, and we need to reference the schema of the user. So if we look to the customer model we have created earlier, this is the reference name you want to keep. So when we export default and we create a Mongoose model, we give him the name customer. So that needs to be the same reference here. After that, I'm gonna say timestamp. I don't know why I don't get the autocomplete. Man, sometimes Visual Studio Code. And one thing I forget is gonna be the geolocalization, because we need the latitude and longitude. So here, there's gonna be a type, and now it's gonna be weird, but it's gonna be a type with a type of string. Okay, what is that? So you see here we did type, and that's gonna be a string. Here it's because my type, I want this type to be a property of my geo. So it's not the same type of this. Yes, maybe the naming is not good, but for me, it just makes more sense to call this type later. So here we just say the type gonna have a mongoose type of string, but type is R key. And after that, we're gonna have chords, which is gonna be an array of number. Because we're gonna save latitude, longitude, it's always gonna be a number. And finally, we're gonna export default a mongoose.model. The reference name is gonna be called address, and we're gonna pass it the schema. The schema we have created here at the top. So here it's the basic address. We're gonna add surely new feature like if this is a primary or a secondary address and things like that, but for now we're gonna keep it like that. After that, I want to create inside my address here, I want to create an address.js. So as you remember in the customer.js, that was like the kind of the service of the module. So what I mean, it's this file was the one who talked to the database, because the controller never really talked to the database. You see, he never really touched the database ever. So the only thing we import from the model was the provider enum, but we talk to the customer here. So while we do this, it's maybe later you want to change the database for, I don't know, like a SQL or something like that. You can keep your function name here the same, and they're just gonna change wherever you call them. So now here we're gonna import the address because it's the place where we're gonna touch the database. So here we're gonna create an address. That's gonna be an async function where we're gonna receive some data. We're gonna call a try catch where we're gonna throw the error. So the error gonna be handled more upper, how you say that, like further. So here we're gonna create the address. Well, we're gonna call address.create from Mongoose. Here I'm gonna spread all the data, okay? And why I do this is because I want to be able to change the geo. Because the way that's gonna work, it's geo from the front end. Remember the way we save it when we check in the front end. So remember, it's a workspace, so I can use the mobile in the front end. When we have created the build address, at the end we return the geo, which is an object with longitude and latitude. Okay, so geo, it's an object with lng LLT, and I want my front end to just don't really care about what is sent, so we're gonna just transform it in the backend. So what I mean by that is we're gonna just replace the geo from what we have. So spread all the data because it's cascade. So what I mean, it's because geo is gonna be at the end. We're gonna replace the geo saved by the data, and we're gonna say the type is point, because remember in the address model we have say we're gonna need a type is a string, so here I say point. And for the cohorts, now I'm gonna put this as the array I want, because remember it's an object. So data.geo.lng for the longitude and data.geo.lat for latitude. And by doing this way, I know at 100% then my backend gonna save this value always in the same order. So my longitude always first and my latitude after that. And finally, I'm gonna return the address we have created right here. Just because we are here, we're gonna just create another method just really quick, because I think it's gonna just make more sense for all of us. I want to get all the address from a user, okay? So I'm gonna just show you how simple that can be after that. So we'll get user addresses, try catch, throw the error because we're gonna handle this further. And now here we can say const addresses equal, the way we can find the address of a user just by calling address.find. Inside that we're gonna have the user. Remember the user property we have here, and now we can just say, hey, we want the user, we'll match the user ID. That's it. And finally we're gonna return the address. So when the user gonna ask to get every address he have, that's gonna be the call we can handle. So that's gonna return him an array of address. As you see, Mongoose it's already smart enough to return us. You see, he return us an array of any, finally, just because we don't use TypeScript and everything, so it's impossible for them to know what we're gonna send back. But it's an array of any, but there will be an array of document finally. So now we have created the services. Time to create the controller. So the controller, remember the way I handle this. The controller is the one who it's after the route called the controller. The controller is the one who managed all the validation and require stuff from the erected body, and after that it calls the service we just create. So here is where we're gonna import yup from yup. So yup is the tool we use for the validation. After that we're gonna import from the address services, we're gonna import the create address. And finally, we're gonna call the function create. So here it's an async function with rec and res. So request in response. After that, we're gonna get the data from the rec.body. And we're gonna create the schema. I'm gonna just call that schema. And that's gonna be a yup.object. So we told yup that's gonna be an object with a certain shape. And the way that's gonna be, we're gonna handle all the type we have from the model. And some people have asked, okay, why do we do validation here when we have already validation in the model? It's because never ever think that your database is gonna do the validation. Your database validation is the last security part of your application. So if you say, hey, the database managed that, but you forget something and something bad happened to your database, you're gonna really hate what you've done, because I mean, your database is the most important thing in your application. So you really want him to be really secure. So the street is a string, and this is required. After that, we're gonna have the apt number, which is gonna be a yup that string, not required, because remember what we say, not required. After that, we have the postal code, which is gonna be a yup that string that require. After that, we're gonna have the city, with a string, and it's required. For the postal code, I'm gonna just add something. I'm gonna say min of 6, okay? And why I do this, it's because the way I see this is gonna happen, we're gonna receive something like that, like a h2h2h2, okay? For us in the database, we don't want to save any white space, so we want to remove this white space. But the front end, I just want him to make sure that he sends 6 characters. So if I get something like that, at least that's gonna work, because I'm gonna trim each side and I'm gonna treat the middle. So that's why I'm gonna say, hey, I want a minimum of 6 characters, but I'm gonna manage all this after that. After that, we're gonna have a province with another string, and it's required. After that, we're gonna have instruction with a string, it's not required. And after that, we're gonna have a geo, but geo is another object. So the way you handle this is you need to say object with another shape. And now here we're gonna have lng with a yup that number dot require, and I'm gonna just handle like that and change that to be lat. So this is the schema validation we're gonna have. Don't worry, we're gonna test it. And for seeing the error, the way we're gonna handle this, it's first, when we have an error, we're gonna return a status of 400, and the JSON is gonna have a message key with the error, that message, like that. Else, in the try, we're gonna first thing await the schema.validate. So you can call inside your schema, you can call validate, where you just need to pass the object you want to validate. So that this is the data coming from the reglet body. After that, I'm gonna create an address, coming in with my create address function from my services. Here I'm gonna split all the data, but now I want to manage this postal code feature. So like I told you, I want to remove all the white space. So the way I'm gonna handle this is I'm gonna take the model code from postal code from the data, and I'm gonna replace, because it's an array I can replace. I want to replace, so here it's rejects, so I want to replace finally, like if I find a space, I want to replace the space with nothing. So yeah, I mean it's rejects, so I don't want to go too much in this kind of reject stuff, but just remember in the G gonna be in global, so everything in the string gonna have this reject stuff, and here this slash s, it's for the space. So, and here inside the replace take two arguments. The first one is the rejects, and the second one is whatever you want to replace with. And we replace with nothing. If you want to replace with a white space, you're gonna put that, but we don't want, because this is what we want to replace. And finally, we need to pass the user, because remember we have the user here with the schema type object ID. And the way we're gonna handle this, it's because we're gonna have the user inside the reg.user. And finally, when it's done, it's create. So remember, when we create something, to 1, and when we return, it's gonna be address, like that. So now, time to create the route. So as you can see, I don't create the full crowd here, crowd operation here. Why? It's because first I want to go faster and be able to do more stuff, and also, I mean, why create this right now when as a tutorial the only thing you want to do, it's the thing you're gonna use. So we're gonna make stuff we need in the future. So here we're gonna create a route instance which coming from the router from Express, and now here we're gonna need to import the create we just create in the controller. So inside the controller we just create something called create, and now that's gonna be inside the route.post with the only slash, and now I want to pass the create, and finally I'm gonna export default the route. The thing is, this create I want to make sure that you are logged, because first we're gonna need to have the user log to get access to the regret user, and also that don't make any sense then a user with anonymous in the app can be able to create finally an address. So the way that works, if we look back to what we done, we get the customer out, which finally this function will do the pass the regret user and pass the customer and everything. So this customer out is gonna be the middleware we need to do the authentication. So the way we're gonna handle this, it's inside the index.js, inside the customer. I want to export everything we have from the customer to be able to get access to this. So now by doing this inside my address, now I can import from customer folder, I can import the customer out, and because it's a middleware, you just need to pass it just before. Finally, we create an index.js, where here we're gonna export default as address routes, the default imported from the address route. So by doing export default as, remember what happened, the route here we export default, so it's not an object. So, but by doing this, you just say, hey, I want to export the default value to become this address route object. So the way you want to handle this now is going to be to call this value. And if you want to see this in practice, it's here now. Look here, the autocomplete is going to be address route from the module. I'm going to copy this line here, create a new route, and pass my address route. So now my server is supposed to be able to run, and it looks like I have no error. So everything looks fine. So the way we're going to handle this, it's inside the Postman. I have my dev environment here, where I have passed the variable HTTP localhost 3000 API v1. And by putting dev here, now I can do the base URL. And now I want to say address. So I want to create a new address for a user. So first thing I'm gonna send, and I'm gonna get unitarized. So here, I test whatever we just create. So here I get 4.1. So why do we get that? Customer out here, get call, if you don't find a token, and he sent back a 4.1. So that's why we get that. So now we're gonna need to pass a token to be able to go further. So remember, the token need a bearer. The way I'm gonna handle the token, and I don't want to log again, it's I'm gonna go to my debugger, and I'm gonna go to my mobx store, and I'm gonna do to.json, where here I'm gonna have my token. So now I can take this token, and now that's gonna let me going further. Now I get a 400 bad request. So we need to know what happened. So the bad request happened in the controller, where we sent 400 and we received a message. So finally, the error came from the schema validate, and the error came because of this province which require. So we need to send that from the raw JSON, and we need to send this. Now we need to remember that this is inside an object called data inside the record body. So we need to send data first. And after that, we're gonna have province like that. So for testing, I'm gonna say Quebec. So the province is good now. So city is required. So I need to do the same with a city. So I'm gonna say, I don't know, like Montreal. After that, I need a postal code. So now for testing that, we're gonna test a postal code with just this. Postal code must be at least 6 characters. So if I do, I don't know, like a G2G, 2G2, and I'm gonna do with a space. Let us going for the street. I don't know. So I'm gonna say 111 hello world. And after that, I need the geolat. So you see, it's an object. So they told us with that lat here. I'm gonna say 50, and we need the longitude. Well, I'm gonna say, I don't know, 70. And now I send, and it's safe. Okay, now no validation, blah blah blah. So first, in the front end, we have the autocomplete which comes in from Google. So Google gonna give us the real address. Secondly, yes, we can add validation here. Maybe that's gonna be something we can add in the future. But right now, I just think it's time to jump further and going to the stuff from the e-commerce, so like the payment stuff and things like that. So I don't want to make a 200 video tutorial. So you see the postal code? I sent something like that, and we remove the white space. So that was the reject we just created here. So now we have an address safe. So just for testing this, I think I need to refresh with Command R. And okay. And now we have, oops, not this one. This one is the demo. Okay, so I have my customer, so Emmanuel, blah blah blah, and now I have also my address we just create. And inside that, we see we have set the coordinate and everything. So I think for this part, this looks good enough. So time to jump back in the mobile. So in the mobile, we want when we create an address from here, and I click save to create an address. Okay. So the way we're gonna handle this, it's we're gonna jump in the model current user. So the current user here is the place where we have the address. Okay. So because it's the parent, that's gonna be the place where I'm gonna want to create a new address. So I'm gonna create an action where we're gonna have the self, and this action is gonna be called create address, where it's gonna be a flow function from mobx-state-tree. because it's going to be an async function. This function going to receive some data from the front end. First thing, going to have a try catch because it's an async, so you never know if you get an error. And now I want to manage back my API. So first thing, I've done something here I don't really like, but I'm gonna just fix it later. So here I'm gonna create a base API who's gonna be this wretch, where I'm gonna have the base URL. So this base API, we're gonna import it. I think maybe if I'm lucky. No, I'm not lucky enough. So I'm gonna import this base API from my API/API. So here we need to do an API call, okay? So I'm gonna say const res for the response equal, because it's a function generator right there, we need to use yield. Yield is gonna looks like a weight. So now my base API here, gonna need to have first a URL. So the URL here, I think they say return a new wretch object with the argument URL append in this with the same option. So finally you just append stuff. So here, if we look back to what is the base URL, is this stuff, API/v1. So if we look back to Postman, API/v1 is this stuff, so we need to pass address. So we just say address with a slash. After that, I need to pass the bearer token. Before, the way we have handled this, if we look back to the store out we've done, I've passed it inside something called headers. I found another way which is much more simpler. It's just by passing out. Shortcut to set the authorization headers. We just pass that. I'm gonna call something called bearer. And now here I need my token right there, okay? The way I can handle my token is by having my out here, okay? Remember my out, I have the current user model from here, line 13, info equal that. mobx-state-tree, it's a tree, okay? So here the out, I have a branch called current user model. This branch is a child of this out star, but a child can have access to his parent because we know what is the parent. Mobx know what is the parent. So the way I'm going to handle this is I'm going to call something called get out. It's going to be a computed value, and this get out is going to be just to get the authentication parent finally. And the way you handle this is by calling get parent from mobx-state-tree. And get parent, it's return the immediate parent of the subject or true. If this is not the immediate parent, you can either pass finally whatever, like a number for the div and everything. But now for us, we just need that, and you just pass the self. You see self. mobx-state-tree use a lot of function, and this function just need to receive its target, and the target is going to be self. So now the way I can have the out token is by calling self that out. Now the self that out mean we are here, and I want the out token like that. After that, this is a post request, so I can say post. Remember, we need to send a data object. I'm gonna say data. I'm gonna do this like this. And finally, we want to get back a JSON response. We just send like this. So now I'm gonna say res hello world just to see it, and I want to console the res. Now time to jump on the address form screen, where here we have an observer. We have the address form screen, so this is this screen right there. I want, when I click on the save, to be able to jump to save, okay? So the way we handle this, it's first we need to inject from mobx react native, inject the out store. And what that lets us do, it's first we're gonna create a new function here called save address. This save address is gonna be an async function with a try catch. And this function here, we're gonna call this that prop that out is the out store, that info to get the current user. So now we are here current user, and I want to handle a create address, and to get the address, I'm gonna send him the address we have saved from here with save from the build address, like that. And now the save address gonna be called from this button when it get pressed. And remember, this button, it's impossible to be able to click on it because it's disabled when we have no address. So now open this. This error sometime happen. One thing before going further, I want to remove this. And I think autocomplete, I want to remove the value, just to make sure we're gonna have just the good console. So here, address, add a new address. Store out is not available. Make sure, okay, make a typo. It's out store. So just jump back and change it from here. One second, I'm gonna take some water. Okay, so now we are here. So I'm gonna find an address with Bay Street. And now if I click on that, so I'm gonna just remove that. And I click save, we get res with an object with an address, and this address, it's coming from the backend. You see, it's the backend right now. We get a post to address, and look here what happened. We insert one with this coordinate because that was a coordinate given us by Google autocomplete. And as you can see, we have saved this value. So now if we jump back to the Mongoose here and I refresh, we get this Toronto we just saved right there. So we have the geo with the array of longitude, latitude, and we have the postal code with the space, and we have the user ID. So you see now, it's pretty nice. Yeah, it's pretty nice. We can now show this value. It's just now I want to, I really don't know. I think it's location item. Yeah, I want to remove this thing. So now we have the address in the res. So you see we have address in the res from the current user create address. So now time to create an address. So the way we're gonna do this is by creating an address variable here, where we're gonna say user address. We have it already because we have already said address is an optional array of user address. Dot create. And here I'm gonna print all the res address. And why I do this is because if you remember, we didn't did yet, but we're gonna do this. So we want to add geo, okay? And first thing also, the ID is gonna be underscore because this is the way Mongo gave us back ID. So the geo here is gonna be another model. Why? It's because this is the way when you have an object. So here we're gonna have longitude. There's gonna be a type number, and we're gonna have also latitude. And now here I can do the geo from here, and I'm gonna say latitude is gonna be something, and longitude is gonna be something. So the latitude is gonna be res.address dot geo, res address at geo that coord and number 1, and I'm gonna just copy that finally to be number 0 because longitude is the first one. Now, oh my god, this stuff is the worst thing you can do in JavaScript. What I mean by that, it's, man, if we miss, like, I don't know, like geo is not there, we're gonna crash. If coord is not there, we're gonna crash. If we have nothing in this value, we're gonna crash. And if coord is not an array, that's gonna crash. So you can do some stuff where I see this, like if res and res.address and res.address.geo and res.address.geo.course, and after that, oh man, you can never stop. The way I handle this for me, it's I install a package from Lodash. So Lodash is awesome, but Lodash, it's big. Like you have a lot of stuff from Lodash. So the package is going to be called lodash.get. First thing, do I'm inside the mobile? Okay, yes, I'm inside the mobile. So yarn.lodash.get with the version 4.4.2. So this Lodash get, it's awesome. I use it on every project. So first thing, you import get from Lodash get. By installing a Lodash get like that, you just install this package. So you don't install the full library with I don't know how many meg of JavaScript, but and now look how you can replace that. You're gonna replace LNG with get. Get need an object. So I'm gonna say res address. And after that, you can pass a path to get to this. So my path is gonna be geo.court/0. And if you look what happened here, it's I just say, hey, from my res address. So first thing, to make sure we have the address, I'm gonna say if res address, and you can even say if type of res address equal an object. No, I'm gonna create my address. So from my res address, I want res address at geo.court and a 0. But what it's gonna do, they're gonna do all the logic for you to make sure then they're gonna handle undefined. So if example the geo don't exist, this thing by default return null. If court it don't exist, that's gonna return null. And if this thing don't exist, that's gonna return null. But maybe you say, hey, I want to return something else. You can just, you see here, put a default value. If I want here, I'm gonna want to return LOL. So if I have no latitude, longitude, I want to return LOL. So you see, it's pretty nice. I'm gonna just put null because what I'm gonna do, yeah, it's gonna be almost always there, but yeah, it's just, I think it's gonna be much better if we handle this way. So now I'm gonna replace LNG to be a lat, and that's gonna be the number 1. And now when the address is built, I can just say self, the address says it's an array. And yes, if you came from Redux, you maybe don't gonna like it, but now look, you can say push because it's an address, and you just push here like that. But behind the scene, they're gonna keep your stuff immutable. So now, time to test this stuff. A lot of code, so go back here, refresh, open your DevTool. So I want to show you first inside the out star. If I do to JSON right now, we have an object where we have info and we have an address of 0 item. So that's the reason why when we get to the address here, we have no address. Here now, if I put 222 and I put the Toronto and I save, nothing happened here because we have no way to show to the user something. But now if I go back and I put the mobx out star to JSON, and if I go to my info, now you see I have an address array, and now I have my city Toronto, geo with my stuff, instruction undefined because we have nothing, postal code, province, street, and the ID of what we send from the backend. The thing I don't really like undefined. You can change it. I mean, it's your choice at the end, but here we are in the backend, but user address. If you want this to become null, you can just say maybe null. So when they are not existing, that's gonna be null and not undefined. So if we test back and I do mobx and I get to my info address, now you see it's null. So it's your choice. For me, I'm gonna go with null. Now we don't want the user to stay there because it don't looks really nice. So the way we're gonna handle this is inside the address form screen. We're gonna add another observable called is saving to be false by default. After that, from React Native, we're gonna import an activity indicator. And now inside the renderer, we're gonna say if this is saving, we're gonna return a box with a flex1 bg white, but the item inside that is gonna be align item and justify content center. And we're gonna return an activity indicator with a color of theme that color or that green. So the color green we have from the theme stuff, and the size is gonna be large. So if we are saved, we're gonna change it. So to be able to change this, we're gonna need to have an action. I'm gonna bind this. So what that means, it's now I can replace the arrow function to become save address like that. And now here what I'm gonna do is before the try catch, I'm gonna say this that is saving equal true. Like that. And when this stuff is done, I want to navigate back. So this is a prop that navigation dot go back, and I'm gonna pass null as a key. And why I have access to this is a prop that navigation is because this stuff is a string, and you see we have already that here. Almost close to finish this video. So here now if we go back to the address and I add one and I click save, we see the spinner and that close. Now the question is, man, why this stuff keep like that when I have one address? And if we look back to the info from the user, we can say address is empty. So that was the value we create, and it's false. So if we go back to the address screen, where we say, if this that props that host info address is empty, we render this empty stuff. But what happened is, remember, mobx never observe if you don't tell him, so we need to just say observer. And now by doing this, if we refresh again, yes, I know this user has 1,000 address, but man, we are in development, so it's normal. So, but if we jump again and I save this one and I click save, now we get this hello because we are right there. If you want to just see if this is real, this is that prop, that old store, that info, that addresses, that map. We have an address. We're gonna just return a box. For the key, we're gonna return the address .id, and for the text, just to see it, we're gonna say address .street. And now if I go there back and now I show it, so we have this address, save, we have now this base street. Now the thing is, how can we add another address? That's going to be the next video, where we're going to have a button now here to say add a new address. But you see now, at least we have saved an address inside the stuff. So what we want to do for the next video, it's first, every time I refresh, I lose my address, and I don't want to fetch always my address. So what we're going to do is, we're going to save some stuff in the local storage. I'm going to show you how you can do this. And also we want to make sure that when we click here, we're gonna fetch the API call for that. After that, we want to be able to create another address, and then we want to be able to edit the address. And in the edit, we want to make sure that we can say this one is the main, this one is the main address finally we want to get every time we start a payment. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comment. I'm gonna push the code in the repo. The reporting is in the description. So yes, have a good day everyone. Bye.